Yes, I will be calling it soccer, by the way. I know a lot of people don't like to call it soccer, but we gotta call it soccer from now. And yeah, we were actually a group of guys going towards Suffolk Park, a bunch of friends taking a football around, just throwing it around.
The promising life of a future monarch was cut short before its prime. This is the exact tragic story of Prince Khalid al-Qasimi. No one expected that such a thing would ever happen because of the flare of riches and fortunes surrounding the prince. But the life of many royals reveals that riches don't spell wellness, nor do they always prolong life. Sometimes, it could even be why one's life is cut short quite early. Eager to know more about this notable Arab prince who died at age 39? Get ready to be stunned by the shocking realities of life faced by royals. Royal narrative. Prince Khalid bin Sultan al-Qasimi, born on April 6, 1980, is often simply referred to as Khalid al-Qasimi, leaving his middle name out of his public persona. He is the son of Sheikh Sultan bin Mohammed al-Qasimi, who has been the ruler of Sharjah since 1972. Sheikh Sultan is part of the distinguished al-Qasimi family, which is one of the 6 ruling families in the United Arab Emirates. Living under the shadow of a father with such a long reign can bring a sense of pride, but it also holds its burdens. Khalid faces the reality of being the only surviving male heir. The loss of his half-brother, Sheikh Mohammed bin Sultan, was a heavy blow to the family, but the weight of succession rests solely on his shoulders. The responsibilities and expectations of royal heritage massively shaped his life's decisions. The young prince moved to London when he was 9 years old and was educated at the Tunbridge School in Kent, where he was awarded an art scholarship upon entry and studied French and Spanish at the University College London. He was indeed so intelligent that he became excellent at almost everything he did. He also completed an architecture degree at the Association School of Architecture. He spoke 7 languages fluently, aside from Arabic, his mother tongue, like the first Arab Euro Festival for photography. In 2004, al-Qasimi won 2 golden prizes at the festival, organized by the Arab Photographers Union in Europe, under the theme of history, technique, and heritage. For him to have won 2 golden prizes shows his excellence and passion for being outstanding. It would also interest you that Khalid studied fashion design at Central St. Martin's in London. So much for just a brain. He had such a promising life that no one could doubt. Many admired his personality right from when he was a child. Even as a grown prince, he had no place for ego. He maintained a very loving and cheerful life. Many believed he was the pride of his father. He always followed his father and learned several leadership principles by observing him. These principles also made him an outstanding prince in the culture and heritage of the United Arab Emirates. Khalid was also chairman of the Sharjah Urban Planning Council, which oversees infrastructure projects in the emirate. He supervised most of the public works in the Emirates, maintaining his act of due diligence in ensuring that resources such as personnel, buildings, or equipment required for the project were made available and properly executed. Combined with his knowledge of architectural study and skills, he helped achieve remarkable projects in the Emirates, such as the postal code and universities. Khalid was a fine blend of royalty and vision, held in high esteem by the people, but little did they know that a time would come when they would forever lose sight of their charmingly beloved Prince Khalid. How such a sweet hero passed away in the prime of life is a debilitating experience. What could have led to his death? What will be the fate of the empire? Keep watching as this video will cure your curiosity. A distinct prince. Prince Khalid was so loved and positively spoken about loudly by many. One time it was clearly remarked that Sheikh Khalid had been praised for his tenacious yet sensitive exploration of social-political issues, particularly those about the Middle East. He was actively involved in matters that involved both social and political factors. He did it with a combined sense of power and love in that he was persistent in maintaining, adhering to, or seeking what he valued or desired in the emirate, while being sensitive to ensure peace and avoid conflicts or clashes. A friend of Sheikh Khalid once made a remarkable statement about him, saying that Khalid was very talented and incredibly smart. Khalid was also very passionate about human rights. And of course, if there is anything humans want, it is their right. Since he was passionate about this, he was loved by many humans, far and wide, especially in the emirate. He had no trace of jealousy or competition with anyone. He was a man who loved to see everyone happy, and he was a very kind and generous person as well. Despite the royal status and rank of the prince, he remained grounded and approachable. In his interviews, you could see the simplicity with which he presented his views and interacted with the organizers. He is so full of empathy and compassion. He is such a man who is touched by the very feelings of others. The prince was a visionary. He maintained his focus on progress, innovation, and social development in the emirate, bringing him to a cadre of honor and extraordinary achievements. Part of his achievements were in military service. He served in the Saudi Arabian Armed Forces, contributing to national security. You might be wondering how he could have time for the military. Well, he did find his way. Also, in his business acumen, he was a successful entrepreneur, investing in diverse sectors like fashion, which particularly made him loved by certain top celebrities. The prince always maintained his philanthropy by supporting education, healthcare, and social welfare initiatives to promote his people's physical and social wellness. His love for unity made him achieve cultural ambassadorship. He promoted Saudi culture, fostering international understanding and ties between Saudi Arabia and international communities. He also possessed great cross-cultural understanding, thereby making efforts to promote global cooperation and mutual respect. He promoted an astounding aspect of life that was not too popular with the public, such as advocating for social reform, women's empowerment, and youth development. He was an inspirational leader who led by example. He lived his life in such a way that you could tell his values without him mentioning them. And he also encouraged others to make a positive impact. The prince made an extraordinary legacy by establishing the Prince Khalid bin Sultan Al Qasim Foundation, which continues his philanthropic work. Now, you're beginning to understand why his demise made headlines for days. Prince Khalid bin Sultan Al Qasim's remarkable life, marked by compassion, vision, and kindness, inspires many. Later in his life, he explored another aspect of his potential that opened him up to a new chapter: newly found passion. Khalid's potential is inexhaustible as he reveals a passion for fashion design. This passion for fashion became like the peak or highlight of his life. In fact, you will think he was into more fashion than he was into anything else. When asked about what made him take an interest in fashion, he said he had been interested in fashion since a young age. At 13 years of age, he decided that he would someday create a brand and explore the fashion world. Also, being surrounded by well-dressed women led him to discover the industry through many facets, whether in clothing, photography, or beauty. He assisted a photographer at age 15 and worked around London carrying studio lights and helping stylists with their looks. He then applied to Central St. Martin's and took a foundation course, which led him to architecture. However, he still sketched and researched fashion throughout his studies, doing night classes in pattern cutting. He then reapplied to Central St. Martin's and got onto a women's wear course. He left after 2 years and decided to create a small capsule collection, attracting a few major players and helping him establish his brand. In 2008, he established the British clothing chain and launched his menswear label, Qasimi. He said the label is to be centered around the idea of an urban nomad. It was his brand, so he functioned as the founder and creative director. As a fashion designer, he was best known for incorporating Arab elements into his male and female costume designs. Many described this as a poetic and perceptive design mind. The creative Emirati young prince had a significant impact on the fashion world. He used his collections to express his philosophical views and his voice. His designs have been displayed as part of London and Paris fashion weeks. They delicately reflect a convergence of cultures and infuse cultural, social, and political undertones to inform and inspire. His eponymous brand competed with the world's best and became a well-known and unique name in the fashion industry. With youthful designs infused with colors, his collections also featured a comment on current international problems and controversies. He was a man who involved himself in social and political affairs. Fashion helped express his views and values so loudly that many saw and understood them. Some other of his costumes featured Arabic messages. However, much of his women's collection was inspired by the Gulf's colorful jalabia dresses. These dresses were hood-like, with long flowing robes reflecting the North African heritage. He once said models should resemble warriors walking out of a crypt and down the runway. His collections referred to a lot of issues, like putting an end to discrimination. The fashion industry in the UK and the Middle East honored him as a successful UK-based fashion designer, whose designs always represented the romantic and hopeful vision of the Middle East's future. Luxury, elegance, and timeless appeal sum up the Qasimi brand, garnering inspiration through different creative facets such as music, film, art, and undoubtedly architecture. His vision is to form sophisticated, yet contemporary pieces that reflect the defining spirit of today, and also can suit the mood of the future. Asked what mattered most to him as a fashion designer, he said that the garments should be current and reflect tomorrow's mood. Also, because of the work involved, he felt exhausted after every fashion show, stating that there is no sleep in fashion. But he never relented because fashion is what he loves, and he is glad to be doing it. It's so unfortunate that this glamour experience would soon be turned into gloom due to the loss of his life, which happened a few years after such a milestone. The death of the prince. Link. The prince was found lifeless in his London penthouse apartment in Knightsbridge on the 1st of July, 2019. Before his death, he spent hours of the night partying. Partying suddenly became a great part of Khalid's life, and he constantly threw parties for his friends. Khalid's death occurred when he was in his flat, sometime between when Johan left him on the 30th of June at 9 p.m. and when he was found by his cleaning lady the next day at 5 minutes past 10 o'clock. Johan was the only person who was last seen with the prince before the prince's death. The prince wasn't ill, although he often experiences a heart attack, which is a side effect of substance abuse. Rumors have it that the prince had taken certain hard substances with a man before this happened. The prince had a reputation for partying hard, surrounding himself with beautiful women, as well as having a penchant for illegal substances that boosted his sexual performance and adrenaline rush. This can be confirmed by a statement made by one of the female workers in his fashion house. As you can imagine, Khalid was very popular given the amount of money he had and the type of people he knew. There was no shortage of women after him. He was an incredibly hard worker and very driven, but he partied very hard. Still, his cleaner, Maria Kisau Hanyan, had let herself into the apartment and found him sitting on the floor by a sofa before raising the alarm. She thought he would wake up, so she checked on him. It was clear to her that something was wrong. Immediately, she jumped to reach and phoned the manager of the building to say, "Dial 999. He is lifeless. He is gone." His father posted images and a video of the funeral prayers on Instagram. During his funeral, his father was flanked by his fellow rulers. But is this linked to something more than drugs? Keep watching to find out. A Family's Misfortune. Link. It was also recorded that the older brother of the prince died at a very young age of 24 in a similar scene. The 24-year-old was overdosing at the family's mansion on a sprawling country estate in Sussex. Before then, locals recalled his desperate attempts to escape his gilded existence by heading to the pub to drink pints of ale, or slipping away from his security detail to visit a girl at a nearby housing estate. Despite the best efforts of his father to find him a career, as he grew older, the young man started to live a playboy lifestyle. On one occasion, he was flown to a hospital in London after crashing his Mercedes sports car while racing a cousin in the desert. Efforts to get him to finish his education at a university in Arizona also failed. Not only was he thrown out for getting someone else to do his exams, but an inquest would subsequently hear that it was there that he started taking substances. When his family found out, his father did everything he could to help him kick the habit. In 1995, Mohammed was checked into a substance clinic in Britain for 3 months, after which he was enrolled in the Gulf Oil States Police Academy. When he returned to official duties, he was accompanied by Sharjah police officers to ensure he did not return to substances. All the investments the father made to ensure Mohammed's life went in the right direction proved abortive. In the Easter of 1999, Sheikh Mohammed accompanied his family on a trip to Britain, arriving at Gatwick Airport by private jet before being driven in a Rolls-Royce to the country estate. He had been away for 18 months. The young man was found naked from the waist up, slumped forward onto the floor with a necktie used as a tourniquet tied tightly around his arm. A dessert spoon and several syringes were lying on the wash basin nearby. A pathologist found a fresh injection wound on his hand and concluded that Sheikh Mohammed had taken a fatal dose of heroin, probably hidden in his room from the time when he was an addict, after failing to realize that his tolerance levels were no longer sufficient to withstand it. He lost his life, and nothing could be done to bring him back to life. All efforts were futile because it was too late. It was such a painful and unbearable moment for the royal family. That should have been painful enough. The younger brother Khalid, who was seen as the pride of the dynasty, now followed the same footsteps. Someone said, "No matter how educated and wealthy one may be, it doesn't keep them from the scourge of addiction." A promising life was cut short, and all potential was wasted. Both princes would have done more than what they did if they were not into irrelevant things and carried away by the negative outcomes of stupendous wealth and influence. What can you say about the royal family, specifically about the death of Prince Khalid? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe. Before you go, click on the video displayed on your screen.